Ready to take your life to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Get all the information you need to transform yourself into a high-quality man who attracts health, wealth, relationships, and purpose that he wants effortlessly. This is the Menprovement Podcast with Archer Black, where it is his mission to help you detach from social conditioning and transform yourself into a man you want to be. On this podcast, he interviews the most incredible men and women from all over the world to get step-by-step instructions on how you can improve your life and live it according to your own design.
What up, man? Welcome back to Menprovement Podcast. I'm sorry for not releasing those a little bit more frequently, but I was quite busy with other stuff. And from this podcast on, I'm going to make sure that those are coming on schedule every Sunday. And we're going to start this series with a friend of mine. His name is Sam Ryter, and he's a life coach and sexuality coach, I believe, not anymore, but a life coach. And he recently wrote a book. And this is, I believe, his debut in the book department. And it basically is a book about what happens when you set out to achieve some sort of goal in your life. Because no matter the goal, there's always a very sort of predictable thing that happens. And that starts with your friends being opposed to it and, your family not understanding, all that kind of stuff. And he took all those concepts and basically put them into a format that everyone can understand. He crafted a hero that is a personification of everyone who tries to accomplish something significant, of everyone who's trying to align their life with their true purpose, because it's never easy. So if you're looking for some sort of relatable character out there, this is a book that you definitely want to check out. And we're going to speak about all sorts of different concepts that are coming from that book and what happens when you set out on a journey to a higher purpose. And that journey is reminiscent of a climbing of a mountain. So when you try to climb a mountain, you're trying to reach a peak somewhere. A lot of times it's not really easy. It's something that's kind of hard to do. And there's going to be a lot of obstacles, all sorts of different demons and dragons to slay along the way. And those obstacles are going to shape you and going to test you and make you into a person that is basically a better version of yourself. So this really tightly aligns with our theme for Menprovement. So that's why I'm really excited to bring you Sam Ryter and his newest baby, that is basically his book. We're going to talk about the book a little bit. I'm sure if you're on that path, you're going to love it. So yeah, I'll see you on the other side. This is Sam Ryter. Today, people are addicted to safety and comfort. This is probably one of the very first times in our history of recorded history where there's so much comfort available and you can literally sit in your house and do nothing and still survive. And then we have this idea in the same time where all our dreams and ambitions are actually on the other side of the comfort zone. And because we've been in this society that is constantly reinforcing the predictability and the way that we're supposed to behave is kind of falling into those templates where it's like, okay, so you get a safe job and then you kind of live and then you kind of grow as a person maybe when you're in school and you're learning new things, and then it's like a plateau and then you just kind of survive and life is kind of, I guess, losing its color a little bit because you're like just doing what everyone else is doing. But there's a lot of people in this world that need, I feel like, a little bit of encouragement, because whenever someone is embarking on the hero's journey, the trials and tribulations they're going to have are actually to a certain extent very similar, even though those are totally different people on totally different paths. So since you recently wrote a book, which is coming out when?
On the 26th of April.
26th of April, and the name of the book is?
Is Pico Blanco, the White Peak.
Pico Blanco, the White Peak. And this book basically is illustrating this dilemma that almost everyone within our generation is forced to confront. So I just wanted to ask you about your own like personal experiences within that, breaking out of your comfort zone and growing into your own, and like also how did you write about this in your book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, you started it so interesting, this talk, Arthur, like about the comfort zone. I feel we literally grow up in a comfort zone. I think we're kind of the first generation that grew up on the sofa, right?
Yeah.
So the fridge is, in most countries the fridge is always full, right? In most parts of the Western world, right? I have seen other things, but the book really addresses this, right? So we grow up in comfort. Everything is given to us. And yet there are so many expectations of us, right? So we have to do a certain job that pleases our parents. We are in this social construct where we grow up, let's say in a village or in a city or in a neighborhood, where people know us for the boy, right? The small Sam, the small Arthur, and this is the guy, and you can do this and this. This is your strength and your weakness, and you should do this, right? So there's a lot of pressure, and
your identity is locked within like those expectations, and you're like, this is who I am, and you don't really feel like you could be anything more sometimes.
Exactly. So we are. That's how I feel. Like we are often given unconsciously like a self-image, right? So who we can be and who we can't be, and often there is this huge this huge fear to break out from this, right? So I don't know, like I've been meeting so many people the past years, like I don't know anyone who didn't tell me that he has a dream to achieve something, accomplish something, and at the same time he hasn't had this fear of stepping into a new person, right? And this is kind of what our character in the book experiences, right? So he has to break out of the shell in order to become something new, and so do I believe we, if we want to aspire to something greater, that a calling that is in our heart, a dream that we have, we also have to have the courage to break out of this shell of where all the expectations of parents and the environment that we grow up in try to hold us in. And I think that there starts a very interesting conversation about the ways and how to find the courage, and
and how do you find the courage? Because I feel like a lot of people, like, they want all those things, but they don't want all the problems associated with attaining it, and then there's a dissonance, and this creates the fear, because like you want all those I don't know, let's give it a little bit more tangible example. Like, I don't know, and you could be faced with your parents wanting you to be a lawyer. That's like an overplayed example, but you want to travel the world and maybe do something dangerous, like some extreme sports. I don't know, like whatever that is. That's your parents are like, whoa, this is like way too out of what we were expecting of you. But you're a little son. You're the only person we have. What if we lose you? So their intentions are good in a way, but they're also very limiting. And this is where the dilemma comes from, because then you have the parents and then you have your own fear of the unknown. And how do you bridge that gap? What do you think has to happen?
I think there are a few things that have to happen. It is if we break out of this shell, or if we grow up and step into a new persona, right? It's a letting go. So we have to let go of the boy, or we have to let go of the old person that we know that if I'm this small person, I get love from my parents, from the people around me. This is how I'm accepted. So there, I think the first thing is the awareness. I think it's just really helpful to have the awareness about that. I believe we can become whoever we feel we want to become, whoever we would like to become, if we dare to walk the journey. And I just realized that that for me it has been a lot. My life has been a lot to kind of seek the approval of my parents, even though I had a great relationship with my parents, and I never really was consciously aware of, but there was always something, a part within me that kind of was seeking to please them, right? So seeking to if I go the way they want me to go, I be a good boy and I receive their love, basically.
Yeah, which is a great strategy when you're a little kid.
Which is awesome, which works for like 20 years or so, right?
Yeah.
But then in every man's life, there comes a time where is the time of growing up, where there is a part within us that's saying, all right, now I have the feeling that I want to step out. I have the feeling to create something, to have an impact, to make something worthwhile.
Something
right?
of myself, yeah.
Exactly.
And then what we don't have those rites of passage that used to be a part of every culture.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So
where the boy becomes a man, or a girl becomes a woman, because that's actually also the case.
Yeah. Actually, this in the book too, right? So Pablo, our protagonist, right? He really he is the story happens like 200 years back from now, but it's a metaphorical story, and he really symbolizes what we are men going through in our journey from boyhood into manhood. And so he meets this guy, this teacher along the way, who he just sees through, right? And he teaches him, and he basically told him that where he's coming from, and this is actually happening in many, many cultures around the world, that there is like an initiation into manhood, right? So the men or the boys, they go out in the woods, face death, face their deepest fears, and when they come back, man, they never look the same way into their mother's eyes, right? So they are accepted as men. And in our culture, it has been a bit lost, right? So we are like, they are 50-year-old boys still, right? Trying to please their parents. So, and I think we kind of lost the touch of this, to me, so important process of becoming a man. So, to kind of draw back to the question before, like how to find the courage to break out of this shell, I feel there is so much going on within a man when he's like approaching in his 20s or so, or wherever he's faced, when he has this dream of it's time to move on. I feel that the first step is to just kind of recognize, to say, what is pleasing my parents most? Is it if I do everything for them, but I'm an unhappy and miserable person, or what is serving the world most? Or is it because I do something different, I take risks, but at the same time, I'm fulfilled and happy with what I do. And
Yeah.
that's a question Pablo got asked, right, before he's going on his journey of, but I think it's also a question that I ask myself about, like, hey, if the people in my, or the people that try to hold me in that shell of this old persona, like, how do I serve them most? Like, how what is the best? Is it me being miserable and doing what everyone else want me to do? Or is it actually me following my dreams, trying, failing sometimes, learning, facing all the stuff that I've been suppressing in the in the past, but having this sense of being on a purpose, being fulfilled, being happy, and
Yeah.
well, yeah,
Yeah, being happy. And but yeah, this happiness doesn't necessarily come from stimulation by happy things, or like, just those shots of dopamine. Where it's more like happiness comes from a person that you become from overcoming those challenges. So the challenges are the intrinsic part of the journey, and then growing into ability to slay those monsters along the way is along the way to your purpose is basically the it's really fulfilling in itself. So in a way, you want to embrace recognize it for what it is, which is basically that it's going to be sometimes hard, and sometimes there's going to be certain things that you're uncertain of, and it is perfectly fine, right? And you have to go against the grain a little bit, and then also be smart about it, though. So you want to find a mentor, someone who's been through the things that you aspire to be, and then sort of like get under his wing and be able to receive the lessons, so you don't have to make every single mistake yourself, but you could actually get some guidance through the mentor. And yeah, that's definitely like so big, the mentor part, because I feel like a lot of guys could be like, okay, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna jump, it's gonna be great, but then they get so burned that they just crawl back to their parents because they didn't go about it in a smart way, in a way. Because you need a mentor, you need to set yourself up and take the risks also somehow in a calculated way, that like if you fail, it's not gonna destroy everything you have and then you're fucked, right? So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because obviously it's a poetic idea and it's like so romantic, but then with a little bit of a dose of reality, that you have to have a mentor, someone that you can look up to, and then not make mistakes that are completely going to ruin you in the same time, which basically helps. The mentor helps with that. So yeah,
it's an interesting point. How was it for you, Arthur? Like I remember it was like 3-4 years ago where
this was a while.
you broke out of this shell, right? And how was it for you? You talk about meeting mentors, but I wonder how it was for you. Like how did you meet your mentors? How was it for you to break out of this shell and go your own way? How did you experience that?
Yeah, man. So for me, the breaking out of my shell, it actually had there was a bunch of shells. So the first shell would be moving out from my country to study in UK, and I thought this is gonna be a good idea, but I didn't really like it, so I kind of like pursued something I thought I want, and it turned out to be not a good choice. But it taught me a bunch of lessons that were valuable. And then the like actual breaking out, where I went for what I really wanted, which was to have my own sort of website and make money online and be able to travel and have that sort of freedom of choice where I want to live, and not have to have a job, and then inspire people along the way, obviously, which was basically when I met Sean. Sean was my first mentor. this happened because I responded to, so there's this thing called Improvement Academy, right? Or there was, but it's going to be back eventually. It had a group on Facebook, and Sean basically put out the announcement, and it said, I'm looking for an assistant. And I was like, yo, this is like the perfect opportunity for me, because I'm kind of looking up to this guy. I feel like he's doing some good stuff, and if I could help him even like for free for a little bit, I would be like all in on that. So I had a recognition that I have to be common man that has some valuable things to offer to him. So yeah, I just put myself in a position where Sean would actually want to choose me. And then I went to Thailand, and we met there for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And so Sean was like the first sort of mentor for me, and we worked together for a bit. But that's like very good situation where you basically connect with people that you are inspired by. And but even if you don't have that, you can still be inspired by books, YouTubers of various kinds, anyone who basically has an influence on you and paves the way, because they are able to tell you about all the possible mistakes that you're going to make along that way, and you don't have to make them, or you don't have to mess it up so bad, is also a form of a mentor, in my opinion. Like kind of like a Tai Lopez, I guess, philosophy on that, where you could be mentored by books. The worst case scenario, if you don't have an actual person, but ideally you would seek out to find someone who could like teach you the craft specifically. So
Yeah.
that was my story.
Yeah, because it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I hear from you, like, there was one point in your life where you started to dream and to say, you know what, this is what I want in life. And you start to make steps towards that. And even if they were slow, these steps, right? And then I was actually with Sean in Thailand when he put out the job for the assistant.
Yeah.
Right? But man, you've just excelled all the applications. Like, you were just by far the guy who was the most ready for it. And you know, like, I feel with what you shared just before is that, yeah, you were ready to take this opportunity that life brought you, because you already in a way stepped out of your shell when you made the decision that you want to walk this way.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the key point, actually. Like, you have to, like, there's the saying, I think, when you're ready, like, the teacher comes. So once you like make the decision, you kind of open yourself up to all those opportunities that kind of are there always. But if you don't make that decision, you're blind to them. So the moment you like, like, align yourself with that purpose that you have, like, you'll see all those little things that pop up, and you're much more able to basically capitalize on those opportunities. And maybe some of them won't work out, but then some of them will. And once, like, you just need one good one, and that's all it takes. Yeah. So first it's like a mental switch, and then
I believe
the external world kind of would fall into place if you commit yourself to it.
If Sean came to you, your mentors, I can look back, and you probably can look back too, like the mentors, they came into your life when you were mentally ready, when you already made a decision of looking out. And I'm sure you can agree with this, like, being on this crazy journey of following the heart against all expectations and all odds, which are now more and more men doing and people doing in this world, right? Because I think this world is evolving so amazingly in this sense. And there is not just sweet times coming, but there is always learning, and there is always opportunities, and there is always a next step. And I feel that we create these thinks that there is always a solution, that there is always someone that helps us, that there is always someone here for us, by just following and trusting that it's going to be all right.
Yeah. Because like once you fall into this trap, into the vortex of like negative thoughts, you're basically automatically are out of the alignment. But you like, even if everything is kind of like falling apart, but you trust that you're almost like being held a little bit by the universe in a weird way. Even if the things are like not really how you want it, it can still sort of like within this bad situation, there's also like, it's almost like the yin and yang symbol, where the bad situations contain this little, like let's say the black thing in the yin and yang symbol, right? It contains the white, and then the other one contains the black. You know the yin and yang symbol, right?
Yeah.
So even the worst situations have their own silver lining, which then maybe contains the lesson, and that lesson will be super useful for you like in the journey. So it's all about how you look at it, and if you're ready, then there's like not really any situation that can defeat you, because you're just becoming a person who can handle the adversities. And it's almost like this protagonist in the movie that just like once he leveled up enough, he's just like slaying all those dragons, and maybe like couple levels earlier they would just kill him. Right? Yeah, so that's, I think, like, so another way is like to think about it like a video game, but it's life video game, life RPG. Yeah, that's actually so much better, because like, see, people outsource their life in a lot of cases and escape their life into a video game that itself has an arc of a hero's journey in a lot of cases. And then within the confines of the game, it's so much easier to like kill the dragons and defeat the monsters and level up, because it's not them and the fears that are threatening their very existence. They are not there, because if you're killed, then you can always like restart the game. But when it's your life, you have all those, like you have all those like bad habits and fears that are completely unfounded, and there's all those different factors that all those limiting beliefs basically that are holding you in your place. But if you could like remove yourself and realize that you can become whoever you want to become, then whatever the challenges are, you're in a video game in a way. Anyway,
it's actually, I'm just having a short. That's actually interesting. Maybe that's why video games are so popular, right? Because they in a way they let us imagine the path that often is so scary to walk in life itself.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's the same with movies and games. It's it's just basically tapping into our like primal desire for those kind of things, but the society, in terms of like breaking out of your comfort zone in your life, doesn't really reinforce it. And then like you're mostly concerned with your survival, like you don't want to die, and then those fears become so scary because you feel like if you fail, let's say a business, then you're like, you're done. All your friends are gonna laugh at you. Haha, we told you, you're gonna lose all your money. And it's nothing like that. It's more like you fail a little bit, you learn a little bit, you step up, you maybe fail again in another level, and then you kind of retrace. And it's not like linear path. It's more complicated than that. It's not more complicated, but like losing doesn't necessarily mean death. Yeah, that's what I mean. Anyway, so back to your book. So we have the hero. So hopefully we broke down all the possibilities when the hero doesn't want to get the journey, but is almost like forced to get out of his comfort zone, and that's usually how it starts. And then he goes through the gate that signifies that he's already on the path and there's no coming back. And he meets the mentor, and then hopefully he doesn't have to make all those mistakes. And what would you say are the typical trials and tribulations that you could find within that whole theme of breaking out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So what Pico experiences, for example, and and your own take on it too.
So what I see, first of all, like he's leaving this village, right? He has this dream to climb the Pico Blanco, the white peak. He sees this mountain in the far, and he leaves this village for the first time in his life. And before he leaves it, everyone in the village is against his leaving, right? He has a good life there. He has a good family there. People like him. He has a girlfriend. He has just a good life. And yet he dreams of being on the mountain. He just wants to be there. And everyone is against this. And yet his heart, or he cannot just stop thinking about it, because every day he sees this mountain, the peak in the far. So the first thing is like, I break out of this shell and I go against everyone's will. Because it's kind of interesting to see that what I've experienced in my life is that the people who know you as a small boy, they have a certain idea of you. And as soon as you change, their idea about you breaks. So they're going to be, that's scary. Change is scary. And they're going to try everything to keep you as the old Sam, so that their reality can be under control in their minds.
Yeah, but another thing is like, if you're making like strides in your life and you're like getting on a path, like what does it say about them, right? It's like, just stay in your little place and don't mess up our like little structure that everyone's used to.
Yeah.
Like, let's say if you were to go on a journey of, let's say, you're fat and you want to lose some weight and you have your fat friends, and then if you become like skinny, they're like, would be probably pissed, because they're like, notice that first you can do something about it without making excuses.
Yeah.
And also it just makes them realize that they're actually a bit lazy and stuff. So it's just human nature, to keep things as they are. That's how people are. But so that's
that's the first stage, right? So he breaks out, he walks away from this village to follow his dream, and then after just a short while, he comes to a bridge, basically, who is broken, and he cannot pass the bridge, but to get to the mountain, he needs to go over the bridge. So that's kind of the symbol, that's kind of like the symbol for like, oh shit, now I might go better back home because, well, I'm a failure, because the first thing I try, I fail. And I go back home and everyone will laugh about me and I don't know anything. I should have listened to them. They were right in my village, and they, and all these things and all these struggles. Well, this is what usually happens when we step out of our comfort zone, right? We just fall on our faces because it's unknown territory. But there is a nice saying that to master something, we have to know the territory, right? So a pianist, he doesn't think now, but there was a time when he played, he had to learn about all the different buttons, or I don't even know how you say this on the piano.
The keys.
Right. The keys, So he comes to this huge challenge, this huge unexpected challenge, because when he left this village, right, he thought about, I'm going to climb the mountain.
I'm going to kill
and then this, and kill and show them. I'm going to show them.
Oh, yeah. That's also a very popular motivation to show everyone.
Exactly. But then there's this small bridge, this river, it had rained and he cannot cross this river because, there is just this bridge and he cannot go over it. And you're like, oh no. And there, that's like the place where he meets his master, or his first teacher, that helps him to see beyond and to look for other ways to all right, to recognize, okay, this way I learned it doesn't work, but what are other ways? How do I deal with such setbacks?
Yeah.
And he meets this guy and he teaches him to go, instead of being angry at the circumstances, right? Oh, the bridge is broken. Fuck you, bridge, right? He teaches him to look within and saying, hey, what is a better approach to deal with the challenges? Because in the past, in the village, he never had to deal with challenges, right?
Yeah.
There was, he was not on his own. He didn't have to have this skill of moving forward when something is putting itself into your way and makes your path seemingly to be ending.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
so there is the breakout and there is the setback. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just asking, like, so basically he has to figure out another way. The first challenge comes, and how does he overcome that?
Well,
I'm
yeah.
actually doing spoilers for the book, so taking back that question.
We can spoil a little bit, but I believe anyways, if you read the book, or if anyone reads the book, there is so much between the lines for us.
Mm.
So there is the story, and a female artist here in Budapest, like it was a while ago before I was in Mexico, she once told me that she loves stories because everyone can find himself in a
Yeah.
story if you're open and daring to listen, right?
Mm.
So I found this beautiful what she said, because it's a great attitude towards life, I believe, because we can find ourselves in every story that we hear, listen to, or read about. And if we're open and willing to soak the things in, then we get so much more.
Yeah.
So, well, that's why we can spoil a bit about what happens, but there is so much more happening in the background, right? So he's meeting, then that's like the first day he meets this guy, this teacher, who brings him to his village, to his house. It's like a lake house. And he has to, he wants to learn from this, because he sees, wow, this man is so peaceful with whatever happens. Like there was a storm, destroyed his whole house, his garden, and he was still fine. He was still happy. So he sees that, wow, this guy is not so touched by the external circumstances, but there is something more, something deeper. And that's where he learns and explores more about what is beyond what's happening out on the outside world, what's something that is within. And
Right.
that's a
So
very
he taps deeper into his like true identity that is beyond the external form.
Exactly. And I believe it goes even beyond identity, because the identity is even like, it's me, Pablo, right? The guy's name is Pablo. It's me, Pablo. This is what I can do. This is what I can't. This is what's possible. This is what the people think of me in my village, right? And this is the expectations people have of me. And these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. But he really explores something that is beyond that. So what is beyond identity? What is beyond the image that I have of myself? And that's a very interesting discovery.
Yeah, so that's why he basically has tapped into that something beyond the, like, it's this invisible thing that it's almost even hard to pinpoint, but this realm of potential, the realm of possibilities, that he could embody anything and nothing, and like, just he's just like a little bit more like water, basically. He can flow with whatever the moment presents itself to be, and then be formed by that, and also form it. That's
Look, you know how it is. You're running this whole company. There will always be setbacks. There will always be challenges. There will always be like things you're like, oh my God, how am I moving forward with this? And
Yeah, man. It was all the time.
yeah. And here is this guy who is just in peace. And it's this question of like, what is it worth to reach the peak of the White Mountain, to be on top, if you still are affected, and if you are not happy, and if you cannot deal with setbacks, right?
Yeah.
So that's like, man, in my life, this is my biggest teaching I'm going through at the moment, or since like years, but it's really this accepting setbacks as teachings, seeing other ways, not, seeing them not as, oh, I'm so poor because these things happen, but wow, this
How can I
shows
grow
up.
from it?
What can I do with this?
Yeah, just like teachers lessons,
Yeah.
and then those are the things that grow you the most. Well, the thing is, in a way, you're after growth, so denying and trying to minimize those things is also in a way denying the very thing you're after.
Yeah.
So, but obviously it's nice to, it would be nice to have that smooth ride, but the storm and the ability to deal with the storm, and then the confidence and knowing that you can, whatever happens out there, you can be calm and collected, and have a way to deal with it. There's no shortcuts to that. It's in a way you have to just experience a lot of fuck ups and then survive it. And then you've survived so much, so then you can take even bigger challenges and grow from that. And it's kind of like a never ending cycle.
Yeah. I mean, look, that it's a nice metaphor to actually taking this. I love this metaphor of the mountain, right? So if a mountain would be easy to climb,
no one would want to climb that.
Would it? Yeah, like nobody would care. You would not be excited about it. You'd be, if there's just like a hill, you have to, or like a little
like a bunny hill.
uplift, you have to take like 5 steps, and you're up. You're like, you don't care. You don't even remember it after a few days.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something. But if there is like something that is driving us, like, wow, this mountain, it would be amazing to just see where my potential can take me, what I can achieve, what I can do as a human being. Then in order to become that person who is up there, we have to go through stuff that, we have to face things. We have to go through an evolution and through a transformation. And this transformation, everything that transforms, right? You can see that, for example, like in a chicken that breaks through the shell, like there is a break, there is something is demolished, everything that's expansion.
And also
like
something has to die. And
something has to die.
Gonna be painful. And
you have to move
out of that, you have to outgrow it. Yeah, like the caterpillar and the butterfly.
Yeah,
like would be one example. Also, really cool about the mountain analogy is like that the journey itself is the joy, right? The present moment of undertaking the journey. And then once you get into the hill, that's amazing. It's a sweet moment of victory, but the journey is even like more important than because the journey is what shapes you, as you already said. And imagine having this big mountain, and the people that we said they're not really interested, or they're too afraid to respond to the call to adventure. They would just basically wander around the base of the mountain and be like, it's a cool mountain. But that's not me. I couldn't climb that mountain. Then people getting excited, and they would and some people are like, I'm only interested in the peak. So they would be like, so let's take a helicopter and just get on the top. But that's like, what's the point in that? You don't go through all those trials and tribulations that shape you. So you, even if you are on the peak, it's like, it's a nice view, but like the ups and downs of the getting there is what gives it meaning.
Mm, mm. And man, like, you know, what's really fascinating is I actually, my father, he knows a mountain climber, like he's for real, like climbing these big ass mountains. And what he said is very interesting. He said that once you climb this mountain, you're on the top, you're like staying there for maybe like 15 minutes, you know, have a
And you're like, okay, what's
drink,
next?
have maybe eat a sandwich, and then you go down, right? You walk down, you descend again, and the next, you know, after that, yeah, as you said, like what's next?
Mm.
What's the next thing I can accomplish? So this is such an important point, I believe, that you mentioned, like, because it seems to me that we as human beings, we're always expanding. We're
Yeah.
always trying to expand. Like, okay, now I have 20,000 readers on my blog. What's next? All right, 50,000 is my goal. Once I reach 50,000, okay, 100,000, right? We're always looking to expand. We always look to grow. We always look to learn. And once we're accomplished our goal, it's like, wow, amazing, great, 2-3 days, awesome, right?
Uh-huh.
And then like, all right,
All right.
what's next? And
Yeah.
and now here's the the distinction, like enjoying the ride of growth, which life actually is. It's nothing more, well, to me at least, it's nothing more than us exploring our potential, us growing, us learning about this whole mystery, which
Mm.
we cannot really put in words anyways, right?
Yeah.
And there's these things between, or is it just about being at the top, right?
Mm.
So the top is beautiful, but so are, I believe, the steps to the top. And, you know, beautiful, this word, it can be used in many ways. And I think it's also a bit overused as well. But um, even the challenges that forge us, like if we can shift our attitude towards the fascination of how life challenges us and how we can expand from these setbacks and we can find um, a blessing in these things, then I mean, like, then life is an amazing ride, isn't it?
Yeah.
It
Because
just
then you're like,
becomes,
no, I don't want this to happen, and you're like constantly trying to escape from the bad and always
yeah,
going towards the good. You're like, yo, it's all good. All the bad and good is good, and then you enjoy the good and learn from the bad, and you just keep going to the next level after next
yeah,
level. And then you also recognize then that the goal you had is just almost like a checkpoint. It's almost like a stepping stone to another
mm,
goal that will eventually happen anyway. So once you realize that, then you're like, well, those goals feel great, but they're also
mm,
very transitory. It's just kind of like a
mm,
milestone in your personal development journey rather
yes,
than the, because I bet like your friend is like climbing all those mountains. It's great. And then he has climbed like the highest mountain he ever climbed. And then he's like, "Whoa, that's awesome! I'm the man." And then he's
mm,
like, "It's not like he's gonna come back and be like, okay, I'm done. Mountain climbing career, that was fun. Time to move on."
yeah,
It's just gonna be what's the better, like higher peak, and
yeah,
the higher and higher levels, but then finding the joy in getting there. So
you're
yeah,
right,
that's a
yeah,
huge thing, because then you can be happy pretty much all the time for no reason, because you're
yeah,
on the path itself rather than you're
exactly,
trying to desperately be in the peak all the time.
yeah, exactly. And you know, like, essentially, like, what's life about? Like, really, like, if we are like dead honest with ourselves, like, what is life about for me, for us?
Mm-hmm.
Is it is it is it really to prove, to know, to be at the top and to have many accomplishments, or is it to just find this inner peace? Like, what's the priority? what is first? So it's kind of like the what would you rather choose, the roots of a tree,
Mm-hmm.
or or the or
The crown, I
the
think.
stem, the crown, right? So, well, the crown may sound beautiful, but it cannot exist with the roots. So taking like a helicopter to the mountain, well, we're on the crown, we're on the top, we're on the peak, but we are not the person, we cannot hold that space as a person who has gone through all the struggle that actually creates the roots. So each time I feel or I believe that we have a setback, we grow our roots. And even though these roots, we don't see them from the outside, and especially when I started the first 2 years, even 3 years, like I could not see many things. I had not many things to show to my family or to prove or to have things that people look up to and say, wow, well, Sam is crushing it. He's awesome. No, like it was not much, even though I wished for some people, I looked at other people, like, oh, some people, they have this huge success and it's amazing, right, for them. But for me, it didn't really look that way. But now I feel it was so essential because it grew roots from which something very, very strong is emerging right now. And this is something I would not change for anything. So, man.
It doesn't look like it in the moment, right? But
no.
The thing is that once you've actually overcame some of those challenges that were so bad at the time, then you're like, I had to experience that to first even appreciate where I am, and also learn the lessons to get to the next level. And it's just the journey to the next level is satisfying on its own. And it's really also good not to be like looking. It's good to look out and see what other people are doing and seeing like what's possible and be inspired. But sometimes you can fall into that trap of comparing yourself, totally. And then almost like being really deflated because you're like, like those guys are always crushing it. I'm like kind of like whatever I try to do is kind of falls flat. But the thing is that if you actually go and ask those guys that are crushing it today, they probably had similar challenges, but you don't see that because you only see the top of where they are right now.
You see the tree from the outside or the flower blossom, right? You don't see the roots, the seedling that first needed to be there that the flower can flourish. There is this this thing with the race horses. They have these blinders on the sides.
Yeah.
Because if they would take away the blinders, they would just look at the other horses and they would fall and stumble. And I think, it's so like, man, it's almost like the guy on the dance floor who looks at everyone else, and creeps everyone out because he just looks at everyone instead of actually enjoying to dance, right?
Yes.
It's very tempting. It's very tempting to look at others' successes and kind of losing our own track, making our own experiences and so on.
Yeah. So that's some powerful lessons. So we basically are covering the trials and tribulations and different like principles that go along with breaking out of your identity and comfort zone. So we got that we're on the main protagonist is on the way to the top. With all those understandings now, is there anything else that he has to learn that we didn't mention?
Well, he will miss his family. He will start to miss also his fiancée who is waiting for him at home. And I really wanted to bring this into the story, which I think is a huge conflict of men or which I can see or I have been seeing in my life as well, between having a relationship, a deep, committed relationship with a woman, and to have success in business, and it all, or success on your journey, on your path, on your road, right? So there is this. He is conflicted with this, like, and I love to play with this because he has this struggle of like, right, either her or my dreams, right?
Yeah.
So it's Brian Reeves, like a very, very, like a close person who has been helping me so much. He once said something so great. He said to me that women, the core of a woman, the feminine core, is connection.
Yes.
Right? A woman seeks connection. Like, this is why they care for everyone, right? They want to connect, they want to be close, they want to be with you, they want to touch you, they want to feel you. And a man's deepest feeling, a deepest urge is freedom.
Yes.
Freedom. And when I realized that, I was so blown away because it all started to make sense. Yeah, freedom. We want to explore, we want to travel, we want variety. Like, if we want to have, we want to explore many women, many countries. We want to be on the peaks. We want to accomplish, right? That's the masculine, the penetrating, the going forward, the making something happen part. I'm not saying women don't have this, because we also,
it's more about the masculine and feminine principles,
yes,
which all of us have both,
exactly.
but more men have more of masculine typically. And
some persons have more of a masculine force within, a predominantly force, and the other is more feminine, right? But here's a very interesting distinction that what Pablo is learning, and it's just this question, like, what if the deepest freedom of a man, right? We talk about the yin and yang in the beginning. There's the feminine and the masculine, the black and the white in a dance, and the white has a bit of black inside, and the black has a bit of white inside, and this is the sign, the symbol of life. This is what is truth, right? Yin and yang is the symbol of this reality. So it's a constant dance. These black and white, feminine, masculine, they dance together. And what if the deepest freedom a man can find when he truly connects to someone, commits to someone, deeply connect to something, a freedom that is beyond, like, the superficial, but, like the traveling, but something deeper, a deeper feeling of connectedness. And for a woman, what if she finds the deepest connection if she lets the person, the people around her, to be free? Right? I'm just dropping this here. The interpretation is really open to anyone who's listened, but for me personally, it gave me so much, and it came up in this story. And he learns, our protagonist, Pablo, he learns that he doesn't necessarily need to compromise his dreams with his woman. He doesn't necessarily have to lose his freedom in order to be with a woman, but they are actually they're producing each other. They're supporting each other. It's not repelling. It's perhaps repelling for boys and girls, right? Because the girls always tend to be like very, very attached.
Yes.
And men tend to be very free flowing and not, having like a lack of care, or a lack of I don't know, not compassion, but you know what I mean. Like the boy girl relationship often struggles, and
and it's like more of a codependent relationship where there's the girl tends to be like
Yes.
super attached, and
Yes,
she's like,
exactly.
she feels I love him so much, so I want to be with him all the time. But then the guy's like, I want to do my thing as well. I kind of want to, I want to retract to my man cave a little bit. And the girl feels rejected, and is like, this is a dynamic I think you're trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really like the story really deals with these two, the feminine and masculine, because it's such an essential part of our lives, right? We are not that different, but we are different, right? On an energy level, we have different poles, right? And it's the polarity that creates the polarity that creates the friction, but also the communion. It's what makes it so exciting, right? You can even see this in gay couples, right?
Yes.
Usually there is a polarity. There is one feminine, more feminine person and one more masculine, right? So even you can see it in these relationships. So we said we don't need each other, but at the same time, in a way, we need each other anyways, right?
In a way, we do complete each other, but in the same
Yes.
time, we're like independent, sort of like. Ideally,
Yes.
it's a bit of a mind fucking paradox, but on one level, we don't need each other because like you could be happy by yourself, but if from like a standpoint of masculine feminine interplay, then you can only experience your masculine with interacting with the feminine, and she could only experience her feminine by interacting with the masculine, I guess, by basically a contrast, by the contrasting of those energies. Yes.
So that's the play. That's the beauty, right? So
yeah, that's cool. So he's conflicted, and then he discovers, and this paradox is being reconciled after a bit, because it's like, there's like all those paradoxes that like he first encounters, and then there's always this middle way between those two extremes that he's like, actually I can have those two things that are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but there's like this middle way that can sort of reconcile this. So I'm feeling.
And man, I'm telling you, like when I was writing this book, I was I've been in Mexico, just like somewhere in the middle of nowhere, like just writing this book, and it almost felt this came like it was not Sam who writes this book, right? It's just like, right, what does this book want to teach me? So I'm like blown away by the insights that I gain from the story that just kind of laid itself upon in front of me. And I feel there is such a beauty in reading a story, because I feel that sometimes I've been reading a lot of self-help in my very early 20s and late teens, and trying to make sense of this world, right? And it has always felt a bit
dry, right?
Dry and serious, very serious.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I would be very, like very tense around these topics. And I guess a big part what you also doing with the podcast and your work is like just shake things a bit up. And I feel it's so beautiful to have a story, because we can connect to it, we can see ourselves within it, but if we don't really want to, we can also just read it as a story, right? We can go deep. If we feel the urge to go deep, we can just read it as a story and just have the entertainment, right? So there is different ways we can read it. And that takes away a lot of the pressure of needing to get it right, needing to get it done, because essentially I believe we all find our own truths in what is essentially the same thing, right? So it just depends from the perspective.
Yeah, man, for sure. Actually, I would purposefully not reveal how this whole thing finishes.
Yes.
So all we know is that there's a story that is and sort of a symbolized version of what everyone goes through, right? when they decide to embark, or at least contemplating embarking on the hero's journey in their own life. And you guys can see how those themes are actually, in a way, universal. They're personal because everyone has their own little struggles and their own version of the struggles, but in the same time they're also universal, which means that certain principles and overarching themes can emerge from this. And then you can see how, if that guy handled this like this, how, if I see myself in this guy, how would that translate to my life? And then we have the main protagonist climbing the mountain, overcoming all those different challenges. And with this story right now, as we've kind of had this parallel conversation about like our lives and the principles and the story itself, we kind of left it maybe not completely finished, but I think we've definitely went pretty deep, and we would definitely want you to discover it for yourself and go deep with all those principles and see yourself within that book. So anything else you would like to add? And like where people could find the book if they would want to find it. And also we were talking about those 5 books you would like to offer.
Yeah, man. So the English release for this book will be on the 26th of April, right? I mentioned this in the beginning of this podcast. There, it will be translated into 3 languages in total. It will be published in all major bookstores. Find a physical copy on Amazon, and the ebook copy all ebook versions you can literally find. You can find them on Barnes and Nobles, on Kobo, on iBooks. If you have a local bookstore who distributes ebooks, you can get it there too. Like we, Arthur and I, we wanted to give 5 copies for free for the guys who listen now, for you guys. So I'm offering this. You can do whatever you want with it, but I would love to have you, Arthur, finding a way to get these 5 copies out somehow.
Right. So we basically want you to have those 5 free books, but obviously there's going to be quite a few guys who would want them. So if you would be able to spread the word about this podcast and this book, we could basically, this would be our way of repaying you for that little favor, by giving you the 5 1 book per person, 5 books in total. We could basically repay you for that favor. But if you like those concepts enough, if you like the idea enough to share with your friends, that would be awesome. If you could do that, then we'd be happily give you like one of those books for the first 5 guys. Right.
Yeah, guys. If you, maybe that's like a side, like if you guys, like if you read the book, or if you wanna get in touch with me because you have any questions or anything, you can go on samryter.com. I guess we can put the link below, Arthur.
Absolutely.
There you have the whole overview about my books that I write, the art that I do, the stuff that I do. You can contact me there. I'm always open for a chat. I love to meet people. I love to connect with people. I love to see your viewpoints, because I love to learn and love to see your takes. I'm always expanding, and it would be so cool to connect. So samryter.com, there's my blog and all the infos you need. That's it, I guess.
That's it. You can wrap it up here. Thanks a lot for coming, man.
Great. It was such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks very much for listening, and I hope you found this information useful. And if you did, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you turn on that notification bell. But if you really like this content and want to have more personalized advice, then you need to book a free 20-minute discovery session with me, where I'll be able to provide you with custom tailored advice on what you should work on in your personal life. This can be anything from your dating to starting your own business and everything in between. Just let me know about anything that frustrates you, and chances are that I've been through something similar and can give you a useful shortcut to get you where you want to go. And on top of that, as you know, it's great to consume content online, but action is where the real change can happen. Content like this is great for what it does, which is to provide you with guidance, but you also want to know what to consume given where you are in your life and what is the best way to apply it. Knowing this will shave off months or maybe even years of frustration and beating your head against the wall. So, on our call, I'll direct you to the best content you can find online so you can start applying it right away and finally transform into a man you're proud of. All this completely free of charge and with no strings attached. So, after that session, you're welcome to continue working with me if you want, or just take the free advice and make the best use out of it. If that sounds good, then just click the link in the description and it will take you to my booking page. If you're interested, make sure you secure your spot as soon as you can, because there are only so many free appointments that I can take. So, with all that being said, I'll see you in the next one.